Our first story deals with a subculture of heavy metal music that some feel is sending a dangerous message to your kids.
The forces of evil on the dark side of devil right.
And I want to talk tonight about the devil and demons and witches and wizards.
And we just mix it up with hardcore and aggression and come out with something we think is an original sound.
Loud, fast, heavy, you know.
Well, what do you got?
What do you got?
You're listening to Riff Worship, the podcast that attempts to answer the age-old question, what makes a riff? Why do we care so much about all things the riff? I'm one of your hosts, Austin Paulson. With me, as always, is the great bald hope, Dylan Adams. Dylan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, bud. How are you?
I'm fantastic. We have a wonderful guest today. I feel like I know this guy because I've seen him live performing so many times over the years, but we really haven't had the chance to spoke. So I'm happy to have him on the podcast today. He's, of course, a member of the fantastic Evansville band Faerie. Their new record is out now, Weary Traveler, through King Volume Records. I am, of course, talking about James Wallwork. James, how are you, buddy?
Oh, man, I'm fucking fantastic. Oh, I'm sorry if it cuts. Yeah.
No, it's all good. Let it flow.
Free form.
Oh, sweet. I forgot to ask about that yet, but yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Excellent. I guess the first question I want to ask you is, what to you makes a riff? Why is a riff so important to you as a guitar player?
I feel like it's a part of the song that like makes you feel something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it be immense happiness or sadness or anger or just like, I don't know, whatever that. It's the reason why people do music, I think, is riffs.
Absolutely. You mentioned feeling, and I definitely, the riff and the feeling of the riff is all over this new album. And I guess I also want to ask, to begin, how do you feel? Everything's out. It's out there in the world. It's been out there for a little while now. How do you feel that it's done? Everybody can hear it and listen to it. How are you feeling about it?
I feel really good about it. Super, super duper proud of what we did up at Postal Recording in Indianapolis. And all the dudes up there helped us really achieve our sonic dream of the ultimate rock reality that is our band. And on top of like releasing the album is awesome. Working with the record label has been like super, super fun. They picked, we just did everything. Picked all the art, sourced it all, and they helped us out immensely. And it was just like very fun. I mean, for me, I'm like the more of the art side of things. Like Kyle and Todd and at the label, they're banging their heads against the wall trying to get the record produced. Meanwhile, I'm just like in riff la la land. Ever since we released it, we've just been playing basically every weekend we can. Like whether it is Louisville or Nashville or Indianapolis, but we just played Youngstown, Ohio, and that was crazy. But basically every weekend since the show season started, really kicking off. But it's long story short, it feels fucking fantastic to have it out and done. I'm already ready for the next one.
Well, you mentioned some of the shows. You guys just got back from a van festival, perhaps?
Yeah, dude. That one was in Michigan. That was just it's a really small world. Just like basically, long story short, this guy who's like super into boogie bands is also super into our band and is friends with all these bands, and also is lived in Evansville. So it was like a crazy convergence or whatever. And but basically we just played a boogie van fest with a bunch of crazy people grilling and chilling, and played in the rain underneath a lean-to. Mm-hmm. And it was just a fucking blast.
Best van you saw all weekend?
Best van? Oh,
yeah,
man. There's a few Ford Econolines that were pretty cool.
Yeah.
I met a guy who had some really nice bikes, so I'm going to choose his van.
Well, that's a good segue to the first question I had for you, which was obviously you're a lover of riding bikes, skating. You have been, as far as I've been, somewhat involved in everything that's going on. I know that with me, exercise and just taking a stroll around the neighborhood, whatever it is, I've got song structures, ideas just popping up. Is that kind of a meditative thing for you, of like when you're on your bike, you're on your board, you just stuff's just coming in because it's just tunnel vision?
Yeah, 100%. And like with Weary Traveler, it was all written basically during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the whole pandemic, I was writing because we weren't playing shows or really even practicing for a while, and so I was riding my bike about 20 hours a week, just like losing my fucking mind. And then like I just go home and just play guitar, and it was just like a perfect outlet for me to express. You're like 8 miles or 8 hours into a ride or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing you're thinking about is like how to play a riff, but it's like you have these themes that are playing in your head all day.
Right.
You can depend on those. So it's like very much a part of the music is like suffering via physical exercise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, it's also physically demanding to play like the way we do. We play very hard, very, very physical band.
Well, I would certainly think some of the conditioning, especially playing guitar and singing, certainly helps when you're like just riding for miles and miles. I know with skateboarding easily, there's got to be some crossover and hardcore and metal. Did you ever in the cycling world, has there been any like crossover between your two passions?
Well, not so much in the cycling world. Like I am eventually, which is funny that you ask, is like we're not really even starting to promote it seriously yet. It's not off the ground, but eventually there will be a Faerie Ring bicycle music festival.
Oh, excellent.
Near cool. And around where we live. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So
it's Evansville is like such a wild place. And Dylan and I are both like former residents of Bowling Green, and I always felt I've known you guys for eons, and it's so awesome that we've reconnected in this way. It was so tickled. It is great. I'm so happy to be able to do this. And the weirdest thing about, I feel like, with Bowling Green, I think it was so special that there were people who were like-minded and wanted to play the same music that we were playing. But I always felt like this weird kinship with Evansville. And I know Dylan, was kind of the door for me in that, like our good friends, Nick and Wyatt, like there was always like the traveling up to Evansville to play shows or see you play. What is if you could describe your scene in Evansville, what has that meant to you? What should people know about Evansville as a town and a music scene?
Well, I have it's like a kind of a love-hate relationship with Evansville at this point in time in my life. I've put a whole lot of effort and my soul into like making Evansville a cool place for you guys to come up and play, and for everybody to for it to be a music town, but it's just like at a certain point I realized that people don't really give a fuck about certain or most music unless it's one genre, and the only kind of music they care about is this capital H hardcore, mosh music. It's it. And my whole existence is to exist outside of the normal regular cliches. So it's like I don't really fit into this town. Like none of the bands Dylan can attest, none of the bands I've ever been in have ever really fit into this town. But that's the beautiful part. It's like if you could stick out like a fucking sore thumb in this town.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do that all over the world. I'm trying to be unique. I'm trying to, just fuck shit up. And Evansville is a good place to do that because there is no standard there's no real scene other than hardcore.
Yeah.
And if you're in a metal band, it's like just kind of do whatever you want. And we're just, we played August, like a few days ago, and now it's like the first show we played since our record release in Evansville. We don't really play here too much.
That was like the same thing for like Street Debt, for instance.
Oh yeah,
Bowling Green band. I don't think we ever Street Debt never played Bowling Green. Maybe but once or twice, Dylan.
Maybe once, maybe twice. I will say most of our shows were Evansville, Owensboro, adjacent. You know, we played Louisville a couple times, which I want to say this, James, you're the only other person I've came in contact with that says Louisville like I do. So I just want to get that out there. I get so much crap for that.
My wife makes fun of me all the time, but I don't know what it is.
Hey man, the boss says it like that. I got to say it like that.
Hey, there you go.
But maybe once or twice we played Bowling Green. You know, we played it more under a different name quite some time later. But yeah, we mainly played like Evansville, Owensboro, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you guys killed it in Owensboro and Evansville for sure. I mean,
yeah,
the hardest dudes around, dude. I remember, you guys. I think you stayed at my house one of those times.
We did. We stayed with you guys when we recorded our little EP we did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Well, that's so cool. But
I remember that we went to that pizza place.
Oh yeah, Kipley's, man, or something like that, or the Slicer. I don't even know. I probably was still drinking back then, but yeah, that was a good time.
It was.
But long story short, yeah, Evansville is okay for certain types of music. For ours, it's been kind of weird. But I love this town, and I also hate this fucking place. But so, I guess that's my answer.
No, that's fair. I mean, certainly touching on, you know, each project that I feel like I've seen you play. I want to say the first band I ever saw you playing was probably Sounds of Laughter. That was like my first time in Evansville, and our good friend Swindle had like told me this story about perhaps like a coffee mug being like cracked over a head.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of, so to see a show like that, I'd never really been in the kind of, you know, small hardcore underground music scene before in my life. And this, you know, you're playing the loudest amp possible. The lead singer's like grabbing me by the shirt. And I was like, I have to, whatever's going on here, I have to do it.
Well, hell yeah.
Speaking of like do it yourself underground, I mean, so much of this record that you mentioned has been solely on your shoulders as a band, and yourself you've seemed to put a lot of like your own creative energy into it. How important is it for you to like do every aspect of this project, from the art to the songs to the riffs? Like, you know, how important is that to you to like really kind of do everything or have a hand in every aspect creatively, I guess?
It's like, I think it's genuinely the only way it can go down for me is to play music is like, it has to be our way, you know?
Yeah.
And for it to be honest. And also it just helps to have like really supportive, like label, like dudes like Todd and Chris, who are like, yeah, they gave us carte blanche to do basically, you know, they were like, all right, we're putting on a record, you know, we'll figure out, like, you source the artwork and then we'll help you lay it out. And then the layout they did was it's so good. And they know, like, they have really good relationships with pressing plants. So it's like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, but like it took about like a year and a half, but our hands are all over it. Like, you know, and I really was focusing on the sonic element of it, you know, in the studio. Took a bunch of notes going in, and it was like I had a vision, and they helped us achieve that immensely, just by being really good engineers for one, and also just being open for us to be as freaky as we can possibly be, because, you know, this is a fancy studio we're in, and we're like, can we do it louder? Can we mix this more fucked up? Can we like have everything be how we want it, like louder than life, epic? And fucking, they had us in there with a frying pan. I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
Our drummer's banging a frying pan with a metal spoon in front of a $50,000 microphone. So it's like
amazing. You cooked out of that, I heard later, right?
Say what?
You made some dinner after that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
What'd you cook? What were you?
I didn't cook. That was I think they reheated some Chinese food or something.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's and not to cut you off, James, but to talk about the sonic like weight of the album and how it sounds, like it's reflective in every listen I've had of it. You can just feel how weighty it is, how big it is, how loud it is. I mean, we all know the sound of a push tube amplifier. We all know that sound. There's a certain amount of air that comes out of that. It's representative on that record. So much. So with whatever you guys did in there and all the help you guys did, you succeeded in doing that.
Well, hell yeah, that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to, we very much we were very much a live band. We cherish live performance, and it's like what we are most into, because you only record an album for a week.
Yeah.
And that's
right.
like, you focus on an album for a week, really super hard, unless you're writing it. But like, the live performance is everything. And it's like, if you can't capture the way a live performance sounds, then it's like, it's bullshit. And so yeah, we play a live show, and then we sprinkle in some special treats on top.
Right.
And it's to the point where it's like, there's definitely some crazy synthesizers and fun stuff we did in the studio that I wanted to do because I knew that's what they had there. It's like I'd recorded there previously in different bands, and I was like, these guys have some crazy shit in here, and I want to use it. So
yeah,
that's why we went there.
With the that's certainly a good point to bring up too. I mean, with the first record, The Clearing, right? You recorded in a friend's basement. Now with the second record, you're kind of let loose in this certainly professional studio with all the equipment seemingly at your disposal. Aside from, the all of these little tools at your disposal, was there what did you learn from The Clearing? Was there a takeaway from that record that you wanted to perhaps try to implement on the follow-up? Was there we should maybe adjust this a little bit, or I like that, let's continue it on that record? What did you learn from The Clearing, and how did you accomplish what you set out to do on Weary Traveler?
I wanted, The Clearing is fine. I've been on record hating on that one because, like, for some reason I just don't like playing old songs. I'm just not into it. But listening back on it, it is pretty heavy. For a modern sounding like hardcore band, heavy. It's up there. But like I'm way more into analog recordings, like in every sense. The music I like is older, or recorded to tape. So I was like, well, for one, we're recording to tape. That's like, has to happen. And had to do it live. I didn't want to track it in like to a metronome. We don't do that. So we got down the studio in a big ass live room, and let it rip into some antique tapes. And it, that's just what you got to do for it to sound real to me. Like, it has to be off of a magnetic tape.
Is that typically what, because you recorded with Alex Kercheval of Coven, correct?
Yeah.
Is that typically his approach to approaching an album, I guess? Yeah.
Most of your nicer studios will have like a tape machine that goes into Pro Tools, so they can edit on the fly, Right. But so it's like all of your bass tracks, not bass tracks, but every track has gone through the machine before it goes into Pro Tools. So it's like you can kind of, it's not as pure as mixing every single thing to tape live like someone like Neil Young would do. Like, they're just burning through fucking reels upon reels of 2-inch tape because they just have millions of dollars to do it. But most studios will just have an old roll of tape that they'll just, they'll either re-record over, and then it's interesting how every studio is different. But like, basically we just recorded from onto tape to Pro Tools. And so it was a lot easier to manipulate afterwards.
With, you said you'd worked there previously before, with Alex, like, what was the experience like working with him firsthand, as opposed to maybe another engineer or musically inclined person behind the glass? Like, what was working with him like? How does his approach, differ from previous people that you've worked with? And what did you learn from him, I guess?
What I learned from him is that he doesn't give a fuck about what you think, really. It's like he's got an opinion, and it's like he'll tell you if he thinks your opinion is stupid, and which is like really nice to be, because you're not in a hug box. I like people honesty, and I like honest critique as well. So it's like, and he's also just a freak on modular synth and regular synth, and just a really good engineer in general. He's got a really good sound, and it's like also he has chops in like a really bizarre, like ancient occult rock band. And it's like, fuck yeah, I want to record with this guy. He gets us. You know, it's like he's into devil rock. And that's what we're all about. So it's like guy who's into old synths is like fucking funny and cool and will talk shit. And he's just the man. And then Ian, other guy, I think his name's Ian, the other guy who runs it with him, also an awesome dude. He was in a band called Margaret and the Nuclear So-Sos. So he's like a very traveled musician. Yeah, it's like a famous musician. So it's like he's really cool because he knows what the fuck's up because he rocks. But it's just a really fun studio to go to because they're both very eccentric, and it's a cool spot because it's the old post office.
Oh, cool.
So it's like you're just in a cool place. But yeah, it's just I could fucking spend years there. It's so much fun just tinkering around and exploring, and just like my goal is to just try to make the most authentic, like almost like a live rock band sound you can get, because I'm just a fan of rock music in period, and I just don't want it to like death to false rockers. That's all I gotta say.
So along with recording and the differences between The Clearing and Weary Traveler, the big one that I noticed is anytime I've seen you play, I've played shows with you, it's always been yourself and your brother Alex. If I'm correct, this is his first time recording on a Faerie Ring record, correct?
Yes.
So obviously that has changed. What were the differences? What was the crux of getting Alex in this band? Because anytime I've seen you, it's always been you two. You know, is this something where he wanted to do something different for a while, or he was like, you know what, this is awesome, I'm in?
All right. Well, I'll give you a little lore about, because Faerie Ring was a band before I joined.
Oh, really?
Yes, I joined in. It was Kyle, the guitarist, and Joey, the drummer, and then the original bassist was another Alex Henderson. We call him Hot Alex because he's very handsome, which is a huge perk to the band as a whole. It's like having a really hot guy was good.
Perfect.
You know, we took a hit. We took a hit when Alex.
That's why I played with Dylan.
In Street Debt, we used to say why it was ours.
Hey, but yeah, shout out to Alex Henderson. We love you. But yeah, Alex Henderson ended up having a kid, and so he took a step back, and then my brother joined in, and being a fucking the virtuoso he is on every string
absolute madman.
Yeah, he just went absolute crazy on bass lines and on this new record, you know, because he also came in during, like, you know, we wrote like maybe one or two songs, and he off the Weary Traveler or whatever, and he just fit right in and just crazy. And like it's just nice to have a whole new, like, it's like a, you know, me and Alex have been playing music forever, like you said, so it's like an automatic, like, you know, you don't have to say shit. It's like we can just write music. It's just nature at this point.
It's definitely something I noticed on this record, because I've seen you guys in every different band that you guys have been in throughout the years, starting with Sounds of Laughter, and knowing his playing just from throughout the years and hearing him on this record, it really brings forth the interplay that you have, that Kyle has, and that Alex has all together. And I know you guys were very meticulous in writing and creating this album, you know, with, you know, you coming up with an idea, or Kyle coming up with an idea, or Alex coming up with an idea. You know, how did that interplay happen? Because it almost seems like, and this may be more of an Alex question, it's almost like, as you said, he's playing like bass riffs under these guitar riffs that are completely different. Almost, but just supporting the role. And it's phenomenal, the interplay all of you guys have.
Oh, it's just Kyle, he's the fucking man. He's just a really good and tasteful guitarist. And I have liked to think I'm okay, and can craft songs pretty well. But Alex, yeah, he's like he's on a different planet, because, you know, we just kind of let him, it's like, do your thing, because he's the man at doing what he does. And it's kind of how it is for everything. It's like sometimes I'll be like, this shouldn't be like that, or we should do this, but then Kyle will be like, we should totally redo this whole like structure, and it makes it way better. So it's like it's a very cohesive unit. It's like we're always, very open to discussion about being creative and yeah. And then Joey's just fucking holding down the fort, being like the most solid and tasteful drummer that I could ask for. It's like, it's just a very solid group. It just works.
It definitely serves the song, right? Everybody works cohesively because it serves for what the point is, which is like really good songs, really cool hooks, just really massive sounding stuff. And the interplay is just all so well rounded.
I think I've like, not to cut you off, but I like to tell people I'm like the dark tone of the band.
Okay.
And Kyle is like the bright, shredding, like bright, brilliant light. Meanwhile, like I'm just like this mushy, this wall of like, I'm just trying to move air. That's my goal. And he's just like slicing through it. And it's a very, I don't know. We just try to play with that aspect a lot. So that's why on the album, there's like very weird, like on Silverman, there's like crazy different like frequencies going on. So we definitely like to play with those.
Well, you mentioned that you had kind of joined later. I've always known you and your brother to kind of like hold down the foundation and just kind of the riff in various other projects you've been in. Did you join as like with the mindset that you were going to be the singer? Like I've always seen you as the guitar player. Like how did that come to be? What has that itch always been there?
I like to sing a lot. I think Kyle, I don't even know how the conversation went because it was like Kyle and Joey have been jamming together for like a year or so. Mm-hmm. Alex and Kyle, Alex Anderson, whatever. They had been jamming for like a year prior to me joining. And they were like, Kyle's like, yo, you want to play guitar and like sing? I was like, or I don't even know if he asked me to sing. I was like, I'll join. And then I'm like, you guys want me to sing? They're like, yeah. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'll sing. And then, so we just so for that to happen, we had to restructure some of the songs. So they were just like, when I joined, it was like Kyle's like technical ecstasy fucking riff maestro. I couldn't even play it. I was like, I don't even know how to do this shit. But, I ended up, forcing myself to get better at guitar to be in this band for, Kyle's sake, which is saying a lot because I'm Kyle's good. I suck. So it's like, I had to step my shit up big time.
No, you're great.
But, yeah, I think in my heart of hearts, I knew I was going to sing because I just love to sing, even though it's like, I miss yelling a lot, but it's just like, someone's got to do it. Right. I as much as a fan of like, other music, I like to have rock vocals with rock guitar.
It's great. It fits it so well too with these like big soaring kind of verses. I have to wonder, is there anybody that we're not maybe trying to rip off, but is there anyone that you kind of look up to when going in to lay down some of these vocals on these tracks?
Fucking Ozzy.
Yeah,
all day. Yeah. Ozzy's a huge one, obviously, but I don't know, man. Singing is like very scary for me. So it's like I can only do the way I sing. It's like I grew up listening to Misfits, like Danzig is a huge one for me. I really like the way he goes, and just I don't know. I'm not good at gutturals or screaming,
right?
So it's like singing is all I got, and I've always loved Ozzy. I grew up on Black Sabbath and the Misfits, so it's like. That's just, I grew up singing along to those songs, so I don't know how to do anything else.
Well, I have to wonder too, as like kind of, coming into this role, how I have to imagine that singing live and singing in a recording studio, there's differences, maybe separate challenges. What might the challenges be in a live setting versus going into, Alex Kercheval's studio and laying down some lyrics for that?
Well, the studio is just all about like the focus, it's like laying the artifact, of what is supposed to sound like the syllabus, like, it's like, you go back to this is like, hey, this is what Faerie Ring is, this thing, because when it's live, it's a totally different beast.
Right.
I'm not really focused on, I'm mainly focused on just not passing out because I'm like singing so hard that I'm usually like I can't hear anything. and I'm like, my eyes are closed. I'm like blinded with sweat, and I don't really know what the fuck's going on. And I'm like stoned and loving my life. And, you know, it's like live performances is not really, it just is what I do. I don't really think about it. As opposed to going to studio, I'm like thinking about it.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna try hard like in the studio, but it's all about like being in the moment and like swag live.
Yeah, the studio is definitely the meticulous kind of like studying and you know, getting all the algorithms right. Whereas live is the worship, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's
the
like
party, the celebration.
Yeah, you know, you're just completely free. It's like, all right, this is what all the work was about. Now I'm just gonna lay back and just kick it. Yeah,
and it's like I'm not saying I'm like fucking slacking. You know, I think I'm doing okay. I'm holding it down pretty well live. It being that I'm playing and singing, and you know, I'm not doing every exact thing. I'm a little loose, you know, but like that's just everything I like is like that. Every band I've ever enjoyed is this fucking crazy live. It's like, and it's always a different thing. It's like you go to see it as opposed to like listen, or you know, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're supposed to be there, be here now, as opposed to be like think about how much it doesn't sound like the stereo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, I just don't have sympathy for like the elite, like, oh, they played one note wrong, people. You know, I don't care. I'm having fun. I'm trying to put on a show.
No, well, and the great thing about the record too is exactly like we kind of touched on earlier. Exactly what I hear on the album, I feel like is very truthful to what I would hear if I were to see you live.
Well, hell yeah!
And anytime I have seen you live, I feel like there's always been this kind of, you know, we mentioned some of the more classic, I want to say like influences and gear. Like I've always felt like you've kind of taken these like old relics or like some of these like classic like amps, and you've always like had the loudest amp in the room. I'm always curious, like what did you use going into the studio? Did you dust off that Sun? What were you using in the studio?
That's the pride and joy workhorse of the whole band. Me and Kyle both got them. It's just first gen Sun 1LT, you know. No, it's the fucking real deal. We got lucky a million years ago and got them.
Are there? I know you're using like a Big Muff, and I know you have some more like contemporary gear on your board as well too. Like
I got some. I like to have like more of a boutique fuzz collection, I'd say. But I have like a standard Rat pedal, you know. That's like my bass. And then it's like I got some Death by Audio fuzzes on there, which I love. And then just to get the freaky trebly texture through like the most muddy setup, you know, it's like it's a very fun thing to shove right into like a really loud amp. But yeah, I just run a bunch of crazy distortions through an antique amp.
It's beautiful. And you know, that whole foundation is there. That classic feel of it is there, very present on the record. But you know, having that and laying it down, you also get to maybe fuck around with a little bit of some of the cool toys that they had. And so you mentioned synths. Has that always been something that you wanted to include? Like, have you been into kind of some of that more synthesizer and sequencing type equipment?
Yeah, like one of my favorite musicians ever is Brian Eno.
Okay.
It's like, so it's like I've been obsessed with everything he's done since like discrete music, all that shit, just like weird tape loops and like synth, like really pretty swells and synthesizers and modular synth. Always been a fan of that freakier side of, you know, textural music, because I really am huge nerd about texture.
It's layered so well on the record. I always find it so overwhelming because, you know, I love a lot of that same stuff as well, but the equipment, there's so much, and there's like so many different models of this and that. Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, how do you get into something like that and make it like stick?
Well, there's two ways you go about it. It's like you can try to find like the tried and true way, which is like there's a huge barrier of entry, you know, which is usually just money. It's like you have to buy this old gear, or you have to go find this weird shit that they don't make anymore. It's like, or you can just fucking do field recordings on an iPhone and put it in GarageBand and sell, Alex G's only uses GarageBand.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it does not fucking matter. You can make magic with bullshit. It's just, you only need a 4-track and some delay pedals, and you can make really beautiful sounds.
Well, it made for some like very like cool kind of fantastical and sci-fi elements with the album, especially on the cover. I'm very curious how this idea for the cover kind of formulated.
Well, we were brainstorming like as a band. We were like, what is it we want on this fucking cover? And I was like, well, I envisioned like a huge battle between like a huge factions of different worlds and creatures and stuff, all fighting for this one thing. It's like, yeah, Weird Traveler. It's like a interesting album. It's like, it's visually a high fantasy, like weird record, but like, it's honestly just about love and like finding love and just like at the base level of just human existence.
Yeah.
And just like having that resonate. It's like, it's not really about goblins and finding this giant axe. It can be, which I mean, it is. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like, with that art, and, we were just like, we want something fucking cool. And it had some themes, and it kind of like had, because there was a theme, there was a vibe, and it was like, at the time, we were like, it's kind of like a fucking battle just to exist in this fucking world, and we're all looking for like, one thing. And it's like, and we just basically, we told that to this artist, I forget his name, but his name's Wormwalk on Instagram. And we gave him that, and we sent him a copy of the record, or like we sent him the version of the record so he could listen to it. And he listened to it, and that's what he got from our notes and that. And he made one and was like, no, I can't do it. Because it just wasn't good enough for him. It was like, so it's like, technically we had two. It was like, the first one was like equally as sick too. It was crazy. But the second one was just like, perfect. It's like, exactly. It's like, it definitely touches on Silverman in the Sky a lot, which is like, I think his favorite song on the record, which is cool to think about. It's like, he was digging on that one so much that it compelled him to come up with that image. And it was just exactly what we were looking for. And yeah, so that's how that happened. He painted it on a piece of wood.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a painting, yeah.
Oh, that's even better. Is that there's actual physical like media out there that like, this is an actual painting.
He's got it somewhere. Hopefully he's not throwing it away. I'd love to get it from him someday. But yeah, it's you made it on a little piece of plywood.
It definitely gave me some like, I think it's Frank Frazette did all those.
Did
the Molly Hatchet album covers, like the Conan the Barbarian.
Let me show you something.
Sure.
Oh, perfect. I think he's coming back.
Done. Nerds.
Oh shit! There you go.
Oh,
perfect.
That's perfect.
It's beautiful.
There it is.
I'm a huge fucking fan, obviously. So,
that's amazing. Well, there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah, sorry, I had to flex.
No, that's beautiful, man.
But
so it makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're all just like super into like 70s fantasy, awesome paintings and boogie vans and rock music. So it's like, we needed a fucking sick ass painting for our record, and that's what we did.
Well, that's like that's an old school kind of thing, man. Like, I'm sure you've picked up records like Austin and I have, where it's like, man, that is a great looking album cover.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what the hell this sounds like. I'm picking it up, and I've picked up tons. I still buy things like that. It's like, I don't know what this is. It's coming home with me.
Oh, 100%. And that's exactly what I want there to be, just everything to be aesthetically pleasing, and like also just accessible, like, not have this like opaque, beige, just like minimalist artwork on a fucking rock record. I'm not, it's like, it's supposed to be like fucking bam, chromed out, like, yo, we're here.
And it really came together so well. And the physical releases that King Volume did for it, outstanding. I wonder, we kind of touched on it a little earlier in the interview. How did you kind of get in touch with the folks at King Volume? Like, I know they they like to dabble in this style of music. I know they put out like the Sorceress record out there. There's some really great stuff coming out of that label. How did you get in touch with them?
So this is a little bit story time, but
yeah, let's do it.
So this is before the clearing.
Okay.
We're on Instagram. Kyle especially is on Instagram. He was a record collector. He'd post records. He was a record guy. And so he bought a few records from King Volume. Like their first release was Lord Loud. And Kyle and Joey are both huge fans. And Kyle made a really nice post about it. And I guess from that, Todd at King Volume followed Kyle.
Mm.
And then, we started playing Faerie, and he just posts stories of us playing, like jamming at the studio at the time. There was this shitty iPhone recordings, no vocals, like just blown the fuck out, nasty. Like if you scroll all the way down, it's those videos. Like our first 3 posts or whatever.
Yeah.
From that, Todd was like, dude, these are sick. Let's put something out. We didn't even have recordings yet.
That's amazing.
That's like how cool of a fucking dude Todd is. Like he believed in this that hard before we even recorded a song. And so he's like, yeah, dude, you should record and we'll put out a tape, because he was putting out tapes a lot. Records are fucking expensive. So it's like we recorded a song. It was Lost Wind, our first song.
Mm-hmm.
And we sent it to him and he's like, all right, let's put our record.
Incredible. I mean, it's just easy. It's easy as that. I mean,
seriously.
And one interesting thing you kind of touched on too, with like those initial videos of just like it's blown out, and to see where it initially started and where it ultimately ended up. Some of even the visual stuff that you guys have done with the videos is incredible. Like how
that's
did
all
that?
Kyle. That's all Kyle.
Amazing. Like how did that come together?
He's just the fucking. Him and Joey are like movie encyclopedias, like, and especially Kyle likes really old, like occult 70s shit, just like, Satan and fucking titties and killing people and shit. That's like his favorite shit. So it's like all these fucked up sci-fi movies, he just takes it, he'll fucking cut them up and edit a sick fucking video. And he does it so Kyle also helps out King Volume now.
Oh, excellent.
So
cool.
So Kyle helps out. He does a lot of videos for all the new bands on King Volume too. So it's like we're like a family, It's like it turned out to be like it started off as like somewhat business or whatever, but now we're fucking bros and we help each other out big time.
I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that, right? It's almost it's like the rock and roll dream.
Yo, for sure. And like my brother, who is in like a successful band, who was on a very large label that dropped them because they were shitty, but my brother being on this label is like, this is like such a breath of fresh air for him, because it's literally like the best possible way we could be doing it.
Yeah.
And it's just, he means it. It's just real. It's like an honest man, like doing honest shit, and that's what we're all about.
Heck yeah. I kind of want to take a step back because you did send us some wonderful influences and some notes here as far as maybe some significant riffs in your lifetime. I guess I also want to start with, is guitar your first instrument? Like when you first got into playing music, was guitar the first thing you picked up?
No.
It
was. I was a trumpet player.
In school band?
Yeah. Well, I also played I played bells at church. I think bells is the first thing, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, bells is what got me liking playing music.
Did any of that transfer over? Any of that like?
Oh, I mean, yeah. It's just like what made me upset. My family's not musical like at all, and so me and my brother just got literally obsessed with music. From age, I don't know, 9 on, and so we were playing bells in school band and shit, and then Alex is like, "Yo, I want to play bass," and then he got a bass, he was like, "I want to play bass," and then my mom got him a guitar. Electric guitar, and he's like, "Fuck this, I don't want to play it." And so it just sat there, and so I was like, "Fuck it, I'll play it."
Yeah.
And so I just like basically, self-taught.
Excellent. What was the first thing you learned how to play, you think?
I Want to Be Your Dog by Iggy and the Stooges.
Perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah, but like the fucked up, stupid version. It's not even like the real, like, you know, he plays it like up high. It's like a fancy. I was just playing like 3/2 open on the E string. I was like,
heck yeah, did it.
I mean, if you ever listen to the beginning of like the song, it's like just chaos. Like,
yeah.
It's like, you know, and that's all I wanted to do is that. So,
were there any particular players that like instantly, when you started, were there any players that
oh yeah,
you kind of looked up to? Who?
There's so many, honestly. There's like, for guitar, when I first started, I was like obsessed with Dick Dale, surf music in general.
Hell yeah.
And then like just getting into learning about him opened my mind to music in a way that was like unlike anything before. There's just a little bit of lore about this guy. Is like him and Leo Fender were the guys who like made 100-watt amps happen. He's like the first, like Leo Fender made the Fender Showman for Dick Dale.
Yeah,
the first 100-watt amplifier was for Dick Dale. So it's that's like amazing. That motherfucker played loud until the day he died. Loud as fuck. Like I saw him on like one of his last tours, and this dude's walking around in a fucking wireless rig. He's playing 15 gauges strings on a strap.
I knew he played heavy gauge strings.
This motherfucker can barely walk. He starts playing. He's wireless. He starts playing in the dressing room. Motherfucker can barely walk. He walks all the way out, and this motherfucker is loud as fuck. He's got two 215s and two Showmans blasting, and it's just like, yeah, this is what I do. And I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do too.
Heck yeah. Well, you put that on the list, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. You know, I'm not as familiar with his work, but the one thing that I did take away, kind of getting familiar with some of the stuff before we met today, was you mentioned feel earlier. This guy is all about just feeling. It's not so much like, all right, I'm going to be, I mean, he's a wonderful player, but it is so much more about the feeling of like what is being laid down on a recording.
Well, yeah, and it's like him, it's like Dick Dale, and also like dudes like Link Ray, like all these old guitarists that I'm just obsessed with the swag. It's like it's not even about the technicality, it's about how they do it. It's about how Link Ray will be playing one chord, just hold it out, and just fucking look at the crowd while smoking a cig. And then, you know, yank the guitar around and make it this fucking belt smash against the back, and it sounds like shit. You know, that's fucking cool. That's what I was like obsessed with, and I'm still obsessed with, you know.
And you wouldn't, you know, maybe going into this, I wouldn't think, I'm like, all right, Dick Dale, is that like, you know, that's obviously people, you're a fan of music, you're going to try to pull influences, you know, whether it be Brian Eno or Dick Dale. And I'm like, well, you know, it's surf rock. But then I got into one track in particular, Nitro. And I'm dude, this is just like a thrash metal track. Like this is just a right hand 101. It is, he is ripping.
Yeah, dude, he's a motherfucker on that song.
Yeah.
Dude, and just if you ever just watch live videos, it's like he's just snarling, yelling, fucking just not giving a fuck about the crowd. Or not, it's not that he's just put on a show. It's like it's about the show.
Yes.
And it's about attitude and the ethos. Because like I mean, until the day he died, Dick Dale was like, you play loud as fuck, and his goal was to be louder than the waves crashing, than the wind through the trees, because he was an old hippie, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm an old hippie too, and I'm trying to be louder than nature, and like my hero. And then, you know, there's a million other, like Randy Rhoads, that's a huge one for me. Like Crazy Train was like the first time I like saw music in my mind. Like I saw sound waves. I was like, what the fuck? You know?
One song on here that you picked out that was like definitely an early riff for me that I learned, and like, you know, very simplistic, but it has that swagger that you mentioned. It's the Zoo, Scorpions. Was you know, you mentioned like, all right, you know, here's the power chord, bump, you know, like,
yeah.
When I learned it, I was like, I'm hot shit, dude. I know the Zoo by the Scorpions.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like I hear it all over this record. When did you first hear this song? What is it about this riff that sticks out to you?
I think I found out about the Scorpions through the Iron Giant when I was like 7 years old.
Okay. There it is.
that was the first connection for me. And it's just like, every time I heard about the Scorpions, I was like, hell yeah, I love the Scorpions. And then it's like probably like 2020, I was like, or like 2018, I was like, I'm gonna listen to a Scorpions album. And I'm like, this shit fucking rocks, And it's like you just end up finding tracks they don't play on the radio all the time. And it's like The Zoo is that one. It's like the most banging fucking song ever. And the Scorpions are just awesome in general. Just guitar and lyrically are sick. They're just cool. I don't know. They're just awesome.
I know. Really all I know of the Scorpions are their two biggest hits, which are like a Hurricane, Winds of Change. And like when you sent us these picks, I was like, all right, let's just zone out, like listen to this. And like, this thing's got a fucking vibe to it. Like I'd never heard this track before. I was like, this is getting most of the plays out of it. This and honestly, like Taking Out the Trash. Like I'd never even heard that, never heard of that band. And was like, this thing just wails. This thing just, it's just kind of got that like kind of Caravan kind of vibe to it.
Well, it's just that band is the recording quality is most exquisite. It's like, it's perfect the way it's recorded. I don't know what they use exactly, but it's like perfect drum sound, perfect guitar sound. And it's just long rock songs. That are done by like dudes who are like, they're like old dudes. I don't know if you've done any research on the band, but it's like they're just old maniacs who travel around Europe collecting records and playing in shitty bars.
It's funny you mentioned that because like when I heard it for the first time, I'm like, just like Dylan, I had no prior knowledge of the band, but it has a very youthful energy. It's like some of like, it's just fun, like dirty, scummy rock and roll vibe. But you look at the picture, these guys, they're up there in age and they're still killing it. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. I think they're like 60. They're old.
That's awesome. I was telling Austin off air earlier, I was like, man, the singer kind of sounds like a down-pitched David Lee Roth with like the weird wails and everything. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is right up my alley.
A lot of people call him like Captain Beefheart,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But no, for sure. I love Van Halen. So it's like, I could see the old David Lee Roth vibes for sure.
So I think certainly another thing about this band that I really enjoy is, the way the guitars work with each other, some of the harmonies. I mean, you picked a fantastic Thin Lizzy song on here. This is like a precursor to Jailbreak off of Fighting, but for those who love to live, how does Thin Lizzy play a role in your trajectory as a musician? How does it find its way onto Weary Traveler?
Thin Lizzy is fucking everything. If you like rock music and you don't listen to Thin Lizzy, there's something wrong. Like, period. And then Fighting is just my favorite Thin Lizzy album, like by a long shot.
Yeah.
But it's just it's everything about those songs. It's like they're all love songs in one way or another, but they're all like mean and it's like this heavy and like epic, like these swords, the swordsmen.
Just tough shit.
Yeah, they're swordsmen with guitars, and it's just. Yeah, I fucking love Thin Lizzy. And that song is just like, it just comes in straight to business,
It's, we kind of mentioned perhaps like a band that has the catalog, but not a lot of songs of theirs get played on the radio. Perhaps, even that record after this, one of their, everybody loves that record, but I only ever hear 2 songs from it on the radio.
Oh, man.
You never hear this. You fucking never hear Fighting on the radio.
No, like Rosalie should be on the radio every morning. Like it's like there's so many hits on it, but I understand Jailbreak fucking rules too. Like I don't hate it. I love that shit. I love it's just that one in particular is like what inspired me to be like, okay, harmonize.
It's definitely a one band that I feel like if you play guitar, or you play in a guitar driven, rock and roll type band, you're probably taking some influence from this in one way or another. I think one of my earliest memories of going to Evansville, we saw, I think Noisem, the death metal band, played in PG. And like one of the songs they were like the 2 brothers in that band were warming up to like Dancing in the Moonlight just before they started playing the show.
That show was sick. I remember that.
Yeah, that was a good time, man.
It was them in Full of Hell. That was crazy.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I think my band played that show. I think my band Twinzo, me and my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure you,
called Twinzo.
right.
It was like a punk band, I think. Pretty sure.
I believe it.
But no, man, Thin Lizzy fucking rules. Yeah, it's what made me want to harmonize guitar, and then like also like the way Phil sings and the way he does it, just it's all the way everything about that band. It's like it's so cool. It's just the coolest shit.
Phil
and
was
it's like
really
the most. What were you gonna say?
No, I'm sorry, I stepped all over you. Keep going.
I'm just obsessed with how gentle and loving he can be. Phil can be with also being like the most vicious rocker of all time.
Yeah,
and that's I'm trying to be more like him without the heroin.
Always got to subtract that part. That's what I was going to bring up. Is like I hear when you suggested this song and you brought this up, I was like, oh yeah, all over this record is like Phil Lynott influence. Like I can hear it in the vocals, the lyrics, because he is a very underrated lyricist. Does not get the credit he deserves. I mean, he wrote the majority of the songs in the band. Man. I mean, there's the stories about him going to, Scott Gorham and just saying like, oh yeah, I have this part, figure it out. You know, here's this one chord. It's this song, figure it out. And then like the boys are back in town comes up. But his lyricism is just over the moon. And
in his delivery too, it's just the way.
Yeah.
I think the song Wild One, I was going to put that one too. Wild One is probably, if not more important to me than that one. But
you mentioned like being in a like hard hitting rock band and just like, but also writing some of like the best love songs. And, you know, you definitely find that on your own record and kind of the culmination of that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Fairy Ring play your wedding?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
What was that like?
It was awesome. I had to, you know, it's just like the celebration of my life and my love for my wife, Adrian, and my whole family was there. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the most fun shit in the world on my favorite day of all time.
Yeah. Perfect celebration.
Do
you find that this, you know, Weary Traveler is kind of like, do you find a lot of your relationship like influencing some of your songwriting in that way?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it's just, finding love and my wife is what inspired me to even be confident enough to do it.
That's awesome, man. That's so great to hear.
You know what I'm saying? It's all everything. It's everything. Love is.
To kind of round this out, you know, obviously the harmonies with Thin Lizzy, some of the perhaps the best harmonies and riff writing there ever has been in aggressive music. I mean, Crowbar, man.
Absolutely.
Kirk Winsnet is like,
yes,
existence is punishment. I mean, we are all three of us very familiar with this. I mean, the self-titled alone, the riffs aplenty, man. What does Crowbar mean to you as a player, as just a riff writer or a riffman? What can you tell me?
I think I avoided Crowbar for a long time because they had a conceived notion of being a very tough guy.
Yeah,
understood.
Sure.
And it's the hardest music of all time, but I gave him a chance not too long ago, and it's like after I heard The Lasting Dose.
Yes.
I just heard those. I heard the guitars. I was like, what the fuck is this? Is what Crowbar's? I'm like, okay, I'm a Crowbar fan now.
Yeah.
It's all it took. And then I think, you know, once I got into Crowbar, it changed me as a person. I became more interested in understanding what being a man is, you know, because gender is weird. I mean, at least it has been for me my whole life. So it's like interesting to dive into actually trying to understand what it means. And I think because like they help shine light on these crazy feelings that men have sometimes. But it's a visceral band for me. It's like a very sick, awesome feeling, but like musically very just perfect songwriting. Like Existence is Punishment is a perfect song to me. It's like you can't go wrong. It's like everything about a song to me.
I've always thought Crowbar had some of the most lush, I know that's not a descriptive word you would ever use with this band, but some of the most lush guitar harmonies I've ever heard because like Kirk was such a 70s guy You know, all those big, great, swelling like guitar harmonies that are on there. I mean, on the first record alone, I mean, it opens up with All I Had, and that's like a Motorhead riff, basically. And it just it opens up with Higher Rate Extinction, but All I Had's on it. I mean, he can take any guitar riff in his hand, and it's like, it sounds like him. But he also has this great process to his lyrics too, where he'll just like, all right, I've got nothing. It's time to hit the studio. All right, hit record. Like, let's go. Like, straight from the gut. And it's got some of the coolest results I've ever heard from anything.
No, he's just got exquisite taste, is all there is to it. And it's like, you know, I like to think I'm working my way to having good taste. You know, that's like, I think if that's like how you write good songs, is just, I mean, he's got tattooed all over his body. You can just look, if you ever go look at him in person, and you can just see all of his favorite music is all over him. And it's like Thin Lizzy, Typo Negative, and like, you know, all of his homies. He's just a musical creature. And it's like, you can tell, and he means it in every pore of his body. And it's like I don't know. They changed my perspective on heavy music. Just on, like, you know, they write in like there's chord progressions and keys that they play in.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about that in like the realm of the music we play in as much as I do now without Crowbar, I guess.
Well, I'd say you did a pretty damn good job of it on this record. If you say you don't have good taste, I'd say you're there, if not pretty damn close.
Hey, well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it.
The new record is absolutely amazing. I want to ask you before we kind of end things here, what do you hope to accomplish in 2023 and beyond? Like, now that the record's out, like, what's next for you? What's next for the band? What do you hope to accomplish, man?
I'm trying to fucking take over the world, man, in any way possible. But no, not really. It's just like, I want to play music for people who enjoy it, and as long as we keep doing that, I'm pretty excited. You know, it'd be cool to not to pay for gas money, or like maybe like get a nicer van, but you know, I try not to have too many expectations, but things are just really fun right now, and we're just trying to play as much as we can, and you know, hopefully we can just all quit our jobs one day and play it. Yeah, that's my goal, is to be able to pay and not make money, just like sustain on just playing shows. That would be great. And I think it's maybe doable. Maybe.
I think so, man. I think you're on your way. Where can people follow you? Where can people follow the band for any updates on shows and whatnot?
Instagram for the heat. Always, we're dropping content, buddy. Yeah. Faerie on Instagram, Facebook, everything. TikTok, Twitter. If you messaged it, you're talking to Kyle, probably. But he's a sweetheart.
You guys have a show. Oh, sorry, James.
No, go ahead. What are you saying?
You guys have a show coming up in Bowling Green on August 25th.
That's right. Balls, baby.
Yeah. I know I'll be there. It's been a while. I think the last time I saw you guys was when you played Donna's down the street.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
I know Austin likes to wrap it up with a couple questions. And one in particular is, generally we do like, what are we currently listening to? And that, but I always like to throw a different spin when we have a guest on, which is, for Faerie Ring, if no one's ever heard it, what would be the one song, the one riff, or multiple songs that you would give to them and go, hey, here's what you need to hear?
If you were to say, like, would I show them a Faerie Ring song, or show them a song that would sound like Faerie Ring?
Or show them a Faerie Ring song.
So if I were to show them like the hit Faerie Ring song, to me, I'd say probably Silverman Sky or Weary Traveler, one of those two. Or I mean, the first three, I'd say that's like a must listen to in order. Weary Traveler, Silverman Sky, Never Rains at Midnight, in that order.
That's a perfect like culmination. I feel like you would definitely you should certainly listen to the entire record, because why wouldn't you? But I would say you will get like a very good culmination, an idea of like what you're all about, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote those three songs and it was like, okay, we got a record. Like, this is what we got something here. You know, we're cooking, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, if you're gonna jam those three, then come back to me.
Perfect. Dude, James, I can't thank you enough, man, for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and I wish you nothing but even more success in the next year, all the years down the road. I'm so excited for what you got cooking next, man.
No, you'll be hearing from me, most definitely. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to ramble about my crazy brain. So I appreciate you guys.
I'm a big
It's
fan.
also always great to see you
Thank
guys,
you.
even if it's on the screen. But
Absolutely.
hopefully I'll be seeing it at Tidballs soon.
Absolutely. We'll be there. Weary Traveler is out now through King Volume Records. Follow Faerie Ring. Listen to the back catalog. Go see him play. Like you said, it's a live band at heart. It's alive. You can hear it on the record for sure. For Austin, for James, for Dylan. You've been listening to Riff Worship. We'll be back next week talking about riffs. See you next time.